I can't really even pick. I think if I had to pick my favorite, I mean, mine is pretty easy. Mine will probably be Cap. I mean, I think Captain America probably has the best from beginning to end transformation in the movies. I think he has the best storylines in it, and I think it's consistent. Tony Stark's is a little inconsistent because, you play up the whole, Tony sacrificed himself, but then you get that sacrifice in Avengers 1. Well, the planned sacrifice. It didn't work out.
Right.
So by the time that he snaps his finger...
With him being up there floating around.
Yeah. By the time he snaps his finger in Endgame,
yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, what a sacrifice. I'm like, well, we knew Tony was sacrificed.
Yeah.
Remember that was Cap's issue with him when he'd be the one to jump on the grade and blah, blah, blah. And Tony was like, Tony's like, I would figure out a way around it. Like, I would, cut the wire or something like that. But then that pays off in that movie. Mm-hmm. So when everybody's like, oh, well, no, it's the finishing up of Tony Stark's arc. And I'm like, well, no, we already saw him change to the guy that's willing to lay it all on the line. I mean, Captain America's arc through the whole movie is the most fleshed out, from him being taken up from the ice to him realizing trying to be the patriotic American guy to realizing the Americans are overstepping their bounds, then realizing that Hydra's infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. to the point of realizing at the very end that, yes, everybody's correct. I can't be a soldier forever. I need to live my life. It's always going to be another war. It's always going to be another bad guy.
Let me say this. This is my thing. And I'm not mad at you about Captain America. My biggest letdown in the Marvel Universe wasn't even the Hulk. And I'm a big Hulk fan. I feel like the Hulk should have been
more prominent.
Allowed to be a little bit more prominent, a little bit more ass-kicking. But my biggest letdown was Thor. I didn't like the way, because if you recall, what happened to the Thor that created the Vision when he even said, I've been to the future or whatever, and I've seen, and I've had a vision, blah, 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 blah. I already know this guy's got a place in what we're going to need him later on to defeat Thanos or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And then he turns into a drunken buffoon, basically, the last couple movies.
Well, pretty much the last one. One, I think creatively, you had to nerf Thor. We talked about this before. You had to nerf Thor, and people don't know what nerf means. You had to make him soft or weaker so that it could justify why he doesn't dominate.
Yeah.
So you had to nerf him, because let's be completely honest.
He's a god.
If you put in the superpowered Thor that we saw at the end of Ragnarok with Captain America and Tony Stark.
When he got the battle axe?
Yeah. That should be a KO for Thanos. Yeah. Let's be completely honest here. And this is the Thanos without any of the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
They should have been able to whoop him. So you nerf Thor a bit so that it could justify that he isn't at full combating prowess. He's still overweight. He hasn't been training for forever. So now when that battle goes on, it's believable that Thor can get the brakes beat off him.
I understand.
That's 1, 2.
Yeah.
I think also in that situation with Thor, I think they did play something for comedy, but I think that was part of his, and you gotta realize Thor's story hasn't ended yet, but I think that's part of why his transition works, because we remember in Thor 1, he was brash, he was cocky, he was arrogant. They humbled him in Thor 1. Then when you get to Thor 2, The Dark World, which nobody likes to talk about, he becomes a true hero and learns about death and losing, because, he loses his mother, he loses Loki.
Sure.
He learns about loss and how loss can affect a man, but he needs to persevere through it. By Ragnarok, he's in the mode of quasi-redemption, but also he still hasn't gotten over the losses that he's incurred. So that's why when Loki's alive, there's a whole bunch of shit there. But his mother, etc. I think once you get all the way to Infinity War and Endgame, you gotta remember that beginning before Thor got out of shape. He cut off Thanos' head. Remember, he was like, this time I hit the head. He was still in mourning from all those other losses, and then he felt like he lost the final battle.
Right.
If his axe is a little bit over to the left or right.
Right.
He kills Thanos. None of this ever happens, and he's the hero, and everybody stays together. So now he's dealing with the death of his mother, his father, not saving the world. All of this to him feels like this is a lot. So what does he do? He goes into a depression. Now, they play the depression for jokes, and I think they don't do a good job of really hammering home his depression. I think the only scene they hammer really home his depression and all that was when they were going to put on the glove, And remember, he was like, no, I have to do this. I have to do this. Like, remember, he kept being like, no, this is for me to do because for him, that was his redemption.
Right.
This was going to right all the wrongs that he did before. Right. And so for me, I thought it worked for Thor because you gave him from this brash guy to basically almost losing everything. He pretty much did lose everything. Even Loki was dead by this point. He loses everything. And he has no worth anymore. Because for them, it's no Thanos. It's no threat. It's no, like, half the population's done this. It's no avenging to be done.
Right.
And that's all he lived for his whole life was the adventure, the fighting, etc. So yeah, you make him overweight, you make him pudgy, you make him a loser, quote unquote. I feel like it works, but I get it to the same degree. Me and you were looking for that Thunder God to come in and finally get his redemption in a way we think is fit.
Sure.
Like we want that redemption like breaking skulls, not that redemption in he found this mojo, but I mean
let me say this. And just know.
Yeah.
That nerf thing you talking about? Yeah. One person you can never nerf in the Marvel Universe. You never nerf Black Man.
Oh, okay, yeah, well.
Just so you know. Black Man ain't going through no nerf.
Right.
I'm just gonna tell you that. You might not know it. They know about it.
Look here.
Every
time I turn on the TV,
you ain't gonna nerf Black Man.
A black man is being nerfed every day.
A black man.
A black man.
Yeah. Not the black man.
Hey, look.
But a black man. Just for the record.
So, best trilogy, Captain America's or the Dark Knight Nolan trilogy? I hit you hard on that one.
Yeah, you did. So I wasn't crazy about Captain America's trilogy.
What?
Yeah.
Maybe the best comic book trilogy of all time.
I thought it was okay.
Make an argument. It's one or two. Like those are the two.
I know, well, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not a DC fan.
Right.
But for some reason, the Nolan trilogies.
Right.
I was pretty big on those. I like those.
Oh, I know. That's why I asked you.
That's what I'm saying. But I will go with Captain America because he's one of my favorite Marvel heroes.
Okay.
And I'm a Marvel guy. But I will definitely give a close second to the Batman Nolan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think we're at the point now where those two.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody even comes in a close third. Like
I know, but I'm saying that. Like
Blade Trinity was terrible.
No,
Spider-Man 3 was terrible.
Yeah.
Iron Man 2 was terrible. Like we can go down a list
there
of.
There were several Iron Mans that were terrible to me. I wasn't crazy about
Thor 2,
Thor
terrible.
bad.
It's very hard to find 3 consistent moves. Now, I guess if you want to take Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame and the race of Avengers 2, you may have an argument there.
Yeah.
But you still have Avengers 2, so you just, we can't just switch it.
Yeah. That's where they fought the robot, right?
Yeah. Ultron.
Yeah.
I that was just a product of Marvel trying to do too much stuff at one time.
Now they just need to make some money so they can do all the rest of these movies.
Yeah. They were doing too much. I'm going to go Nolan, Dark Knight by a hair. And the only reason I'm going to go Nolan, Dark Knight.
I told you. I was the same way. I'm going to go because I'm a Marvel guy.
Right.
And at the end, that's what's going to win out.
I'm going to go for a hair just because.
I'm going to tell you why I didn't like one of Captain Marvel, Captain America. I didn't like the Red Skull.
The first one?
I just didn't like the Red Skull. I didn't like the villain in that movie.
Well, I always feel weird about when you give the person's best villain in the first one.
Yeah.
I always feel like your best villain should be, which the Nolan one does great. You get the best villain in the second one. I always feel like the first villain, the movie in the first one should be completely about your hero. So you're setting up your hero's mythos.
Right.
And you give the villain some screen, but not enough. Then I think in your second one, you give him his best villain and you give most of your screen time to that villain.
Right.
A la The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
The Joker pretty much runs that whole movie.
Right.
If you think about it, Batman's really not influential in that movie until you get the last kind of showdowns.
And the Joker, the one that won the Oscar.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but I agree with you in principle on that one. Like, you put the Red Skull in there, and you're still trying to build so much of Captain America. Right. It's no time for the Red Skull. Like, people don't realize how of a dangerous villain the Red Skull is in the books because the movie kind of puts him to the back burner.
Right.
I could agree with that. I think that kind of helps my argument for why I put the Nolan one above it. Like, Ra's al Ghul, and I hate to say because we are so familiar with the Batman story,
Yeah.
it allowed us to be able to not have to fully know everything about Bruce Wayne.
Right.
Because we're so familiar with it.
Ra's
but
al
also,
Ghul, in the comic books,
yes.
he was a bad boy.
Oh, and that's what I was going to say. The best thing they did here was they intertwined his backstory with the villain, so that it gave the villain proper timing as well as Batman's story.
Yeah.
Then we go to 2. We all know about the Dark Knight. That, I mean, is wonderful. But also, I think pound for pound, Winter Soldier is the best comic book movie of all time. So for me, if I'm going 1 versus 1, I'm going Nolan, Batman Begins over Captain America, the First Avenger. If we're going the Dark Knight versus Winter Soldier, I'm taking Winter Soldier in that matchup there over the Dark Knight, which I know people are going to kill me for that. But I think, again, Winter Soldier, pound for pound, is the best comic book movie we've ever had. Because it cannot be a comic book movie, and that movie still works very, very good.
Winter Soldier was a good one.
Also, it's also the same about Dark Knight. Dark Knight is pretty much Heat. The movie Heat with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. Yeah. Dark Knight is pretty much Heat with superheroes. So you could say the same thing. Yeah. I think for me, why Nolan, like the last one, The Dark Knight Rises versus Civil War, I do not think that The Dark Knight Rises is a better movie than Civil War. I think the Civil War movie cheats. And that's why the Civil War movie is Belichick. Because you throw all the Avengers in this, but you say it's a Captain America movie. Yeah. And you have them all fight. And I feel like Civil War basically was everybody kid from the time you were a wee tot to maybe a preteen, when you had all your toys together, and you're making the Ninja Turtles fight the Power Rangers versus the X-Men. And you just jam them all together. I got you. That's what we got on screen. And I feel like that's a cheat code.
But I didn't like Bane.
Oh, you didn't like Bane?
I thought Bane should have been more Bane. They made Bane be like
with the Venom and all that. Yeah.
And all that other stuff, as opposed to just being the muscle strong guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, they made him be like he was super intelligent.
Well, he is. The main character
I
is
understand, but my whole point is that I felt like they made him be more of that than more of the other. Well, they made him be more of the brains than the brawn.
See, I think I'm reversed with you. I feel like they made him the brains, and then you realize that he wasn't the brains, and that he was the brawn at the end. Because remember, Ra's al Ghul's daughter, Talia, became the brains of the operation. Sure. So, like, that's why I think, for me, that does hurt me a little bit, because I want the Bane, for people who don't know, the Bane character was a new character for Batman, a new villain for Batman. And one of the first things that Bane did in his run was that his whole thing was that he wanted to, quote unquote, break the bat. He wanted to make it so that Batman did not want to do this anymore, or he physically couldn't do it anymore. So Bane masterminded a whole scheme. I think the comic book is called Nightfall, where he releases all the villains from Arkham. And so Batman spends 2-3 days capturing these villains until he wears them out, and then Bane has the showdown with them. So if you remember in The Dark Knight Rises, that part in the sewer fight where Bane lifts him up and breaks his back.
Broken.
That was in the comic book, and that was the kind of the end of Nightfall. Like, Bane breaks the bat, and he breaks him because he masterminded his plan to basically make Batman. He tied him out. He wore him down. And so Bane's incarnation in the comics was this mastermind genius, and then the venom he would take was supposed to like give him the brawn. Right. And so when I saw this movie, it's built on realism, so they're not going to give him venom. But they gave him, like, whatever gas in his mask was making him nullified to pain or something. Whatever, Nolan. But I enjoyed that they were making this Bane intelligent and smart and thoughtful. And then you find out, oh, no, this was just Talia al Ghul. Yeah. And then I felt like, for me, it took away. So I agree with you about the Bane character. Right. I think I disagree I think we're on different wavelengths of why we think he was good or bad. I think they should have made him intelligent, and they took it away. Where you're like, nah, they should have let him just be a brawler. Which I thought he brawled pretty good. I mean,
he did. But I mean,
so they had to shoot him to pretty much stop him.
I know.
Civil War's a cheat code, and that's why I feel like I DQ Civil War, because it's like, oh hey,
yeah, but that fight scene, that airport fight scene, one of the best fight scenes now.
It was amazing.
That was
amazing. But somebody, one buddy of mine, or actually Irvin, who I had on for the Super Bowl, he said it best. He's like, everybody's going to marvel at the airport fight scene, which is great, but people got to realize that there are no consequences and all the punches are pulled. So it really wasn't like a fight. It was like a scrimmage.
They weren't trying to kill anybody.
Yeah. It was a scrimmage.
It wasn't about trying to destroy anybody out there. Yeah. They were trying not to.
And that's what he was trying to say. Like, the consequences weren't big enough where the people actually,
Sure.
and, you know, and he was basing it too off the comic book, where the comic book in Civil War, the consequences were so high that these heroes were actually going against these heroes for basically over, you know, registration.
Yeah. And
that's what his beef was with it, is that he felt like the airport scene was basically no different than Avengers training session.
Yeah, he was going out there trying to.
Yeah. And so when he said that, I was like, man, he
trying to show you don't want none of this.
Yeah, right. Even though the Vision got no flack for pretty much crippling Rhodey.
I know, but well, who was the Vision really?
That's true.
I mean,
That's very true. Well, he's gonna come back now in that WandaVision.
Well, he don't have to. I mean, you know what I'm saying. I mean, it's still time to edit him out.
I heard Quicksilver may come back too.
Yeah, he probably gonna come back. I think he'll come back.
I like Guardians 2 more than Guardians 1.
I've grown to be that way too. Now,
and people kill me for that. Like, I have so many people that were like...
Well, I thought 1 was good because of the introduction. Mm-hmm. I thought they did a very good job of introducing all the characters, you know, giving their backgrounds, all that stuff. And I like the fact that Groot died, per se.
Yeah.
And now they re-evolving Groot.
Right.
And doing all that. So that's what I'm saying. I mean... I'm a bigger fan of that franchise after really watching 2. Because the first time I watched 2, I was like, I'm not impressed with this at all.
I felt the same way. I admit, I fell asleep in the theater. Being completely honest with you, I fell asleep in the theater, and then I watched it at home. Yeah. Like about a few times.
I've seen it at least 3 times.
I really like this movie. Yeah.
After seeing it at home and really paying attention to it, and really kind of understanding about Peter now and all that and everything else. Just like I'm not going to subscribe to the fact that he's lost all his powers, though.
Oh, because of his father and ego dying.
Because they made that statement that, you know, if I'm dead,
your powers are gone.
Your powers are gone. It's all over.
You think that was just the villain's way of trying to stay alive?
I'm hopeful because he needs to have some kind of power. I'm not going to subscribe to he can just fly, just be doing all the stuff he does with no power. That ain't going to sit well with me.
Well, he was doing it before he knew he had powers.
I know, but that ain't going to sit well with me. That ain't going to...
But you're one of the few people...
He need to have something. He need to have something.
You're one of the few people that are not excited about the Guardians of Asgard.
Yeah,
with Thor being part of the Guardians. Like, you're one of the few... Everybody else thinks this is just a perfect idea. You're like, I'm good.
I don't want to see that. Not with Thor being part of that.
Yeah.
They already got what Batista gonna do? Because that's his role. That's his role. His role is being the gentle, strong man.
Right.
You know, oaf kind of a person.
Right.
And ain't no room for him and Thor.
Well, I mean,
as a matter of fact,
but Thor's evolved. He's no longer like the oafish oaf anymore.
But they need to be fighting every day. Basically, if they're gonna do that, they need to be fighting every day. Him and Thor.
Who? Drax and Thor?
Yeah.
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, Drax get the brakes beat off him.
I know. That's my point. I mean, that's what would happen.
But you ever thought to yourself, like, does lightning work in space?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. Again, I think it's complexities that you can really dive into.
Do they have lightning on other planets? Do they have rain on other planets?
I think there's a lot of facets we can go into on that. And
I mean, but the bottom line is, since nobody knows you, may be whatever you want to be. It rains on Asgard all the time.
Well, I feel like too in that situation, you would
Asgard
have to,
is like Seattle, Washington. Rain all the time.
I feel like in that situation, you would have to power scale Thor back a little bit. Like I think that's always going to be the issue with Thor, the Hulk. Some of these guys, you always got to power scale back a bit.
Here's my thing: if you're the god of thunder, y'all be able to have wherever you go.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. I'm wondering how that works. So,
I mean, the bottom line is that I'm the god of thunder.
Summon it from another planet.
But listen to this. I'm the god of thunder. I make thunder.
Okay.
So therefore, wherever I go,
thunder's there.
I'm taking the thunder with me.
I mean, I can see that logic.
There you go.